How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Hip Drop Podcast. Lucas and I are back on this Tuesday, October 14th, 2025, to recap all of the action of week six. And what a wild and eventful week six it was. And Lucas, this has been one of the weirdest NFL seasons that I can remember because I don't know if there's any truly great teams in the NFL. I don't know how many objectively good teams there are in the NFL. There are only four teams that have one loss or less. Yeah, the Bills and the Eagles, who 9 days ago looked like world beaters, now have dropped two straight and looking like they have serious issues. The Chiefs getting back on track on Sunday night. You have the Bucs continuing to roll. The Steelers continuing to find ways to win. It was an eventful week six, but first of all, Lucas, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, and I think when it comes to this season, I may have said it last week or the week before, but it seems like it's similar to 2021, where there's no
Yeah,
dominant team. I mean, like every team has warts. Like I've seen like a bunch of different power rankings from different sources. Just taking the Chiefs, I saw Colin Cowherd and another YouTuber I like to follow named That Franchise Guy. Both have the Chiefs at one, but I still think Pro Football Talk has them at like 12 or 13. And weirdly, I think both are somewhat valid, but I think the Chiefs are closer to one. But that just shows like there's no like clear team that we know is good. I mean, even the
exactly.
Lions, who we thought were going to be good, they did not play very well on Sunday. So it's a long season. We're going to talk about every game this week and probably save our underlying thoughts or overlying thoughts, however you want to say it, for tomorrow's show.
Yeah, tomorrow in which we preview week seven. I can't believe it's week seven already. It's been a quick NFL season, a season where, again, 2021, the Super Bowl that year was between the Rams and the Bengals. Both of those teams, Lucas, were the four seeds in their conference. That was the last kind of unique Super Bowl because since then it's been the Chiefs every year against two absolutely stacked Eagles teams and a loaded Niners team. But all those teams looked like clearly the NFC favorites by the season's end. So it'll be interesting to see how it progresses. Like teams like the Bills and the Eagles, see if they can get back on track after looking really shaky these last 2 weeks. If the Chiefs can get rolling a little bit once they get Rashee Rice back, it'll be very interesting to see how everything progresses through the rest of the season, through these final 12 weeks of the regular, 11 weeks of the regular season. Good that I corrected myself there. All right, Lucas, let's get to recapping week six. So just for starters, the Texans and the Vikings did not play this week, and we'll go all the way back to last Thursday night. A surprising outcome out in the Meadowlands. The Giants really taking it to the Eagles 34-17. The Giants now move to 2-1 with Jackson Dart in the lineup. This was easily the best game of Jackson Dart's career. He threw one touchdown to Wan'Dale Robinson. He ran for another. Cam Scattaboo had a nice game. As for the Eagles, you can make the injury excuse defensively. Jalen Carter did not play. Nolan Smith did not play. Quinyon Mitchell left with an injury. But this offense continues to be anemic. They played pretty well in the first half. They scored 17 points in the first half, but once again were shut out in the second. Jalen Hurts had a rough game out there, particularly in the second half. He missed a wide open Devontae Smith for a touchdown. He threw a brutal interception in the red zone. He took some bad sacks. Not a good outing for Jalen Hurts. Again, the Eagles as a whole just did not play well. They looked like they didn't want to be out there on Thursday night, which is not a great sign. So they dropped two straight. They're 4-2 after being undefeated to start the year. And the Giants, look, they're 2-4. You're not thrilled about that, but it looks like Jackson Dart has inserted some life into this team. Brian Daboll that win probably gives him his job for at least the rest of the season. We'll see if they make a decision in the offseason, seeing how the rest of the season goes. But Lucas, what's your takeaway from this game, and what's your concern level with the Eagles? Because I got some 2023 Eagles from vibes from that
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, I'm very concerned with the Eagles, and I think I was saying for the past couple weeks, even though they were winning, I wasn't convinced, but I wasn't going to hit the panic button until they really proved it needed to be done. And I think
Yeah,
that's kind of what happened. That's kind of what happened. And they were missing Landon Dickerson in this game, but they still had Jordan Mailata, they still had Lane Johnson, they still had their starting center. They weren't playing with a depleted offensive line, but Jordan Mailata, who's a great player, he had a really bad day. Their offensive line got torched by a pretty good Giants pass rush that I didn't think played particularly well. I just think the Eagles O line didn't play well. Saquon Barkley kind of had another middling day. I mean, hasn't really been that impressive this year. I think the play calling might be the biggest individual issue on the team. Like, I think
Yeah,
offensively, I'm just not convinced that Kevin Patullo, I think is his name, I'm just not convinced he's a competent
yeah,
offensive coordinator. And their defense
no.
didn't exactly play very well last night. I think they're missing, Matt might have been missing a couple of guys, but not exactly impressed. And we do have to compliment Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart was objectively elite yesterday. He was accurate to all three levels. He made several big throws and several big plays. He also had a big scramble. So I
Mhm.
think he's proven like, okay, the Giants may have something here. I don't know if it'll stick, but I think we learned that Jackson Dart, the Giants were right to trade up for him. And that looks like a somewhat smart decision. Doesn't mean it's going to work out in the end, but I do think right now he's at least capable of playing in the NFL, and we'll see what happens. But credit to the Giants. I picked the Giants to cover the spread, and I was pretty confident, but I didn't think it would go like this. Like, not even me, one of the biggest Eagles haters, could have predicted this.
Yeah, no, I thought the Eagles would win, but my gosh, it did not look good. Again, Hurts had a really rough game out there. And look, Jackson Dart, I think he's played reasonably well since being inserted in the lineup. At the bare minimum, he's been a significant upgrade over Russell Wilson, which is not saying much. But he had a rough second half against the Saints. He threw a pick. He had a bad fumble in that game, but I thought he played really well against the Vic Fangio. I know the Eagles were missing some key guys. That's still Vic Fangio coaching that defense, and Dart really had his way against him. Scattaboo gave him a burst, and they did this without Malik Neighbors, who's out for the year. Uh, I believe Darius Slayton didn't play either. Their other receiver. So it was really just Wandale Robinson,
No.
some guy named Lil Jordan Humphrey, former Saint and Bronco, was out there making big catches. Um, yeah, just a poor showing for Nick Sirianni's group. And now it's going to be really interesting to see what the Eagles do the rest of the year. Is this just a blip in the radar, or is this a sign of things to come? I'm very concerned about Kevin Patullo. I think he's done a very poor job as the offensive coordinator. And I don't know like what the fix for this offense is, because the 2 years they got to the Super Bowl, it was with Shane Steichen and Kellen Moore, both of whom are now head coaches, both really good offensive coordinators, particularly Steichen. And Moore certainly did some really nice things last year, particularly with the running game. But in 2023, they had Brian Johnson, who was not great, but now they have Kevin Patullo, who's even worse. So I don't know what maybe the fix, like maybe you hope the Dolphins fire Mike McDaniel if they lose to Cleveland on Sunday, so you can bring him in as a consultant. I don't know what you do, but there's a lot of season left. We'll see how Philadelphia responds. They head to Lucas's neck of the woods to take on the Vikings on Sunday. We'll preview that tomorrow. Lucas,
Oh,
do you
I
have
don't
any
have
parting
anything
thoughts on
else.
this game? Okay. All right.
No, we can move on and spend as little time as possible on this next game.
Oh my God almighty. Broncos Jets over in London. This was payback for the Revolutionary War. The Broncos beat the Jets 13-11, one of the worst games ever. The Jets stay winless. They're 0-6. The Broncos improved to 4-2. And all thanks to their defense. They got 9 sacks of Justin Fields in this game. Justin Fields is horrendous, Lucas. I don't understand why they're not putting Tyrod Taylor in the game. I understand they gave him that contract in the offseason, but and it's a lost season at this point. But at least you need to tell the guys in the locker room, like the Quinnen Williamses and the Sauce Gardners, guys who are actually good players, that like we're trying to win football games. And other than that game against the Steelers, Justin Fields has been atrocious this year, even by his standards. I don't have much to say about the Broncos. I mean, Bo Nix, I thought played a little better than the 13 points it indicate, but he also, I wouldn't say he was good either. That was pretty average. Denver's offense really struggled against the Jets defense that's been putrid to this point in the year, but ultimately they escape London with a win and they return back to the States, tied for first in the division. But man, I feel like if Aaron Glenn doesn't want to lose the locker room in his first season, they should make a quarterback change to Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, exactly. I'll spend as little time as possible on this game. Justin Fields, he's not good. Unless the Jets are trying to tank, and that's why they're putting in Justin Fields constantly.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor played objectively well against the Bucs, and he even played well in relief in the Bills game. Like I thought, I mean, I don't know if he was elite. He wasn't elite against the Bucs, but against the Bills, he played very well in garbage time against their backups. And plus, we know so Tyrod Taylor gives them a floor that's higher than Justin Fields, even though it's not the same ceiling. This Jets team just isn't good. We'll see if they get talent around him. We'll see if Aaron Glenn can coach. In terms of the Broncos, I thought Bo Nix played well. I think it was probably his best game of the season, but not exactly impressed. I don't really buy Denver. I don't care what their record is. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, the Broncos are some sort of Super Bowl contender, but they're
No.
4-2. They're tied for first in the AFC West. I guess they're good, but that's all I really have to say.
Yeah, they're good defensively. They're really Nick Benito would be my pick for defensive player of the year at this point. He's just been an absolute menace. Zach Allen's been really good again. Jonathan Cooper's really good, but their offense is so limited. I mean, I think that says a lot about Bo Nix that was his best game of the year. I thought maybe the Bengals game was his best game of the year. But he has not been great this season. And if they want to win anything this year, and by anything I mean a playoff game, he needs to play a little bit better. But moving on to this next game, not really a tour de force by either team here. The Rams beat the Ravens 17-3. The Rams bounced back from that tough loss to the Niners on Thursday Night Football. They improved to 4-2. The Ravens fall to 1-5. Who on earth saw that coming going into the year? They're now going to their bye week. Man, the Ravens need Lamar Jackson back in the worst way. It looks like they will not shut him down. He will be back after their bye. Because looking at the Ravens' schedule after their bye, it's pretty easy. It's manageable. And in that division, when you have Lamar Jackson, you can be like, okay, maybe the season's not over. But I mean, they've scored 13 points in 2 games. Like, that's just absolutely putrid. Even without Lamar, Cooper Rush is awful. He has no business being on an NFL field. Stafford, I thought was fine in this game. Puka Nacua got hurt. That's not ideal for the Rams. It looks like he might miss a game, but luckily for them, it's not long term. Um, I don't know, Lucas. I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, the Rams did what they had to do. They went across country and beat a team playing their backup quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like for a second the Ravens were actually probably going to try and do something in this game because they had first and goal at the 1, or not first and goal at the 1. It was first and goal at the 4 that turned into a second and goal at the 1, and they just could not punch it in. And that's when it was a 3-3 game towards the end of the first half. Like, man, if the Ravens got points on that drive, and I understand, I probably would have said going for it was the right decision. But if the Ravens got points and went into halftime winning, that just completely would have changed the dynamic. But it seems like once the Ravens got stuffed, it just seems like they were cooked from that point, and they just completely gave up because they did have a drive when it was 17-3 that was kind of inspiring, but just didn't really turn into anything. That was a missed opportunity. The Ravens, I don't think are dead. I think they could make the playoffs with Lamar Jackson coming back, but they already have 5 losses, so their margin for error is getting very, very, very razor thin. At this point, after their bye, they can't afford to lose any games they're not supposed to. Like,
I
I
know,
think
yeah.
they could theoretically lose a game and still be 11-6 and make the playoffs, but with the Steelers twice, the Packers and Lambeau, the Patriots all of a sudden they're good. It seems like you're not going to win all of those games. You might lose one, which means you can't afford to lose to the Bears or the Dolphins or the Jets or the Bengals
Yeah.
without Joe Burrow. Like, I think I don't think the Ravens are dead, but I think if they come out and lose to Chicago with Lamar Jackson, I'm going to bury him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's the only reason why I'm not saying the Ravens are dead, because you have your MVP quarterback coming back, and it's a very easy schedule post by. I should mention Cooper Rush did get benched in this game. Snoop Huntley came in. And as for the Rams, I mean, I don't really much to say about them. They had to win this game, and then they got it done across the country. They head across the pond to take on Jacksonville next week. We'll preview that tomorrow. All right, next game here. A game that Lucas correctly predicted. I got wrong. Probably the most entertaining game of the early window. Panthers-Cowboys. The Carolina Panthers defeat the Dallas Cowboys in their home stadium. They improved to 3-0 at Bank of America Stadium. The Carolina Panthers people have 3 wins. They have the same record as the Kansas City Chiefs. The Cowboys fall to 2-3-1. Their defense remains atrocious. Really cost them in this game. The big story for the Panthers was Rico Dowdle, former Cowboy, getting revenge on his former team. 2 huge rushing games in a row for Rico Dowdle. Bryce Young, I thought, played pretty well. Dak, once again, was awesome and let down by his defense. Dak Prescott has been sublime this year, and they're wasting it with probably the worst defense in football. George Pickens had a big game, but unfortunately they lost. They come away with a loss against a Panthers team that you should beat. And all of a sudden, Lucas, the Carolina Panthers winning some football games. They get the Jets next week, so they have a good opportunity to get above 500 for the first time, I believe, since 2021. So good for the Panthers, good for Bryce Young and Dave Canales, and Rico Dowdle, all of a sudden looking like prime Christian McCaffrey in this Panthers offense. and really sticking it to his former team.
Yeah, as a Rico Dowdle fantasy investor, I picked him up very early on October 3rd, which I believe was a Friday. Or, yeah, I think it was a Friday. That investment has paid off handsomely because he's given me 65 points. And to honor his legacy, I've changed my fantasy team name to the Fighting Rico Dowdles.
Oh,
So,
perfect.
yeah, so he played very well. I thought Dak played well in this game. I think he only threw 2 deep shots in this game, and he missed on both of them. So
Yeah,
kind of a missed opportunity there. But I don't know what to do with the Panthers. I think we buried them a couple of weeks ago. I guess
yeah. I
by
think we
default we got to like resurrect them. But like
we will
this
tomorrow.
team,
We will. Yeah,
I
we'll
mean,
bring him back to
this
life.
team just looks so radically different at home versus the road. I mean, this next week's going to be a huge test for them because they're at the Jets. So if they could play like they have at home against the Jets, they should win that game by like
Oh yeah,
7 or 10 points at least. But if they struggle again, then I'm probably going to bury him because do you want to know who they have after their bye week? They have the Buffalo Bills at home after their bye week. So, and I think the
yeah.
Bills are going to. I think that could be a game where the Bills just come out firing. They're going to come out guns ablazing. They're not going to mess around in that game. But it is the home Carolina Panthers. I'm not a believer in Carolina. I don't think Bryce Young has been that good, even over this like 2 game, even over this like 2 game win streak. He's been fine, but not
Yeah.
overwhelming. I I think if I'm the Panthers, you can't fall for Bryce Young again. I think this is kind of a bigger picture. I think the Panthers have, unless Bryce Young could actually play well for the final 3 months of the season, not just over a 1 month stretch. Unless he plays well over 3 months, the Panthers have to go quarterback shopping next offseason. But that's kind of not a bigger story, but kind of not the main story. The Cowboys, I just think this is who the Cowboys are. They have a good offense. Their defense is going to be a tire fire. And unless Dak is perfect, they're probably not going to win very much.
Yeah, the Cowboys to me are this year's version of the 2024 Bengals, where you have an offense that can put up points in bunches, but a defense that can't stop anybody. They're like the Timu 2024 Bengals, whereas their games are entertaining, they're fun to watch, but they're just ultimately not a very good team. And if you lose to the Panthers, I know the Panthers are improving. Like you should be able to beat Carolina. They've beaten this far this year. They beat Atlanta, and I'm convinced the Falcons were betting on them in that game. Someone needs to investigate the Falcons for that game in Week 3, and then they beat a horrific Miami team. Again, like I'm not ready to say the Panthers are some sort of playoff contender, but it's good to see them, if you're a Carolina fan, at least winning some games. And spoiler alert, we are resuscitating them tomorrow in our burials and resuscitations. All right, next game here. Colts Cardinals. The Colts improved to 5-1. They are the first team in the AFC to get to 5 wins. The Cardinals, with Kyler Murray out of the lineup, fall to 2-4. The Cardinals actually played pretty well in this game in Indianapolis. Jacoby Brissett looked pretty good. They put up 27 points, but ultimately was not enough. Jonathan Taylor continues his all-pro campaign. He's been excellent this year, ran for 123 yards. Daniel Jones, I thought, was solid. He did throw a bad interception, but he threw 2 touchdowns. Um, Tyler Warren had another good game. He's making a case for offensive rookie of the year at the tight end position. And the Colts, Lucas, continuing football games. I know they haven't really beaten anybody. The only somewhat good team they've beaten is the Broncos, and that they kind of took a miracle for them to win that game. But they're doing what they have to do. They're winning. They're beating teams they should beat. I thought Arizona represented themselves well, at least, but ultimately fell short, and their season is kind of getting away from them a little bit down in the desert.
Yeah, this is a game if you're the Cardinals, like you just gotta like be kicking yourself that you lost. I mean, I thought the Cardinals were gonna get hammered in this game, and the Cardinals had a chance in the second half of that game, but Jacoby Brissett could not clutch up. They had the ball late. I'm looking where they had the ball. They had 1st and 10 at the Colts 12-yard line with them well over a minute left, which is an eternity given the context of the game. Sucks they couldn't finish the job because Brissett took a sack, or not a sack, but it was marked a sack, but he tried to scramble. And at that point, it was 3rd and 7. That was a huge problem. So it became 4th and 7 and just could not get the job done. Jonathan Gannon has to feel sick because he had it. Like I don't
Yeah,
think the Cardinals. I don't think the Cardinals were winning at any point. They were winning. Yeah, they were up
they were
24-17
winning for a
entering the
bit.
fourth.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, and then they took another lead, and then they just could not do it. Jonathan Gannon has to feel sick. His defense could not hold up, giving up 2 different touchdown drives in the fourth quarter. each under 5 minutes. The Colts just kind of did whatever they wanted on offense in crunch time. We'll talk about the Colts later tomorrow, but I think the Colts are good. I think I'm being proven right with Daniel Jones. I don't think he played well yesterday, but I thought he was a
No, he
poor
was
man's
not
Alex
great.
Smith.
No, he probably had his
Yeah,
worst game of the season, if we're being
yeah,
honest.
yeah,
That or the
yeah,
Rams game.
yeah. Did not play well. We might talk about him tomorrow, but good win for the Colts. At this point, they're 5-1. They just got to focus now on stacking up wins because the Texans might be starting to figure it out. So they're 2.5 games up on Houston, and they have to play them twice down the road. And so just got to hope you could split those games to just kind of hold off and just hope the Texans can get to 6 losses. And then can you finish the season 7-4 down the stretch and get to 12-5? I think that's something they can do. But we'll see if Daniel Jones can hold up.
Yeah, and look, Jones, I think by and large has been good this year. Kind of got away with a shaky performance on Sunday. Jonathan Taylor really kind of carried the load. Jonathan Taylor, I think he and Bijan Robinson are the two best running backs in football right now because with Saquon having a down year, Derrick Henry showing his age at times a little bit. I think it's those two guys really kind of putting their teams on their back. We'll get to Bijan later. And then Shane Steichen's done a sublime job coaching this year. But one more thing about the Colts, their schedule tightens up a little bit here. I mean, they're at the Chargers, they're at Pittsburgh in a few weeks. Of course, they play the Chiefs in Arrowhead. They play the Texans twice. They play the Jags twice. So they play the Niners on a Monday night. It's their only primetime game this year, unless they get flexed. They play Atlanta, a tough Atlanta team overseas. So the Colts, we're going to find a little bit more about them because their level of competition hasn't been great. But I think they've probably been the most consistent AFC team. So kudos to Shane Steichen and company. All right, next game here. Seahawks, Jags. The Seattle Seahawks head all the way down to Jacksonville and beat the Jags 20-12. The Seahawks improved to 4-2 to stay in pace in the NFC West. Where meanwhile the Jaguars fell to 4-2 after that dramatic win over Lucas and I's Chiefs on Monday Night Football. Man, another really good game for Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, Lucas, playing just I wouldn't say perfect, but damn good football. He has been one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year. I think you and I owe him a sincere apology for doubting him this offseason. I thought the Seattle Seahawks would be a bad football team in 2025. I thought that offense would really struggle. I thought Darnold's success last year was a product of Kevin O'Connell's scheme and Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and all those weapons. If that's not the case, he has honestly played better this year than he did last year against a Jaguars defense that has been really opportunistic. Jacksonville, as you could tell by their point totals, did not play well on offense. Trevor Lawrence was so-so in this game. They only scored 12 points at home. And Seattle getting a big win across the country. I think the Seahawks are a good team, Lucas. I don't know if they're a contender. I don't know if I'm ready to go say they can be in Santa Clara for Super Bowl 50 or 60, rather. Super Bowl 50 was also in Santa Clara, so I got it mixed up. But they're good. They're playing good football. I was wrong about them, and I have no idea what to make of the Jaguars. I don't know if they're good. I don't know if I wouldn't say they're bad. They're 4-2, but I feel like we're going to see like a little bit of regression for this team because they were not a 4-1 caliber football team, and that kind of showed up today on Sunday.
Yeah, I would say Sam Darnold's been perfect. Like when I say perfect, I mean like relatively speaking. Like obviously he's not going to go like not have like a 99 PFF grade. I'm just talking about like he's played about as well as you could realistically expect Sam Darnold to play. Like if you're ranking it on a scale on a percentile from 1 to 100, like just Sam Darnold, he's playing about 97, 98. Like he can't be playing much better.
He's been incredible this year.
And I know the box score stats may not be like the sexiest for that Jacksonville game. Like he was 16-27 for 295, which doesn't exactly like scream well because he had an under 60% completion percentage, but the underlying numbers were insane. He made 5 big time throws. Unfortunately, that it seems like anytime he threw the ball deep, it was just money. Like 99.3 grade on deep shots. And here's the good part. Like when the Seahawks can protect him, like he's objectively an elite quarterback. He had a 98.7 offensive grade when he was kept clean, which means when the Seahawks are not completely collapsing around him, he's objectively a good quarterback. And he might be the highest graded quarterback this year when kept clean, which just goes to show if the Seahawks offensive line could actually play somewhat well, this offense can move the ball. Cooper Kupp is a decent That's been decent these past couple of games. JSN has been a top 5 receiver this year.
Hmm.
I think Seattle, I don't think it's a Super Bowl contender, but if they could rack up enough regular season wins to maybe hold off the Rams, who have lost a couple of games they shouldn't have, like things could get really interesting because I think they play the Rams. Yeah, they play them twice. I think
Yeah,
one of them is on a Thursday. So
yeah,
if
week
they could hold
16
off
in
the Rams,
Seattle. Yeah.
if they could hold off the Rams and get like maybe the 2 seed, something like that, that things could get interesting because it doesn't look like the Eagles are going to be a 14-win team this year or a 13-win team. They'll probably lose at least 5 games. The NFC South, I don't know how much I trust the Bucs to hold up. The Lions, who knows if they'll hold up? So, but if the Seahawks can get the 2 seed, like I don't know, man. And if Sam Darnold plays well, I don't know how many teams could go into Seattle and win. But I don't think this is a team that could be the 5 seed and then go to the Super Bowl. I don't trust Sam Darnold like that. But if they could play 3 home games at Lumen Field, anything's on the table. I believe in Sam Darnold to the extent where I think he'll be a good regular season quarterback, but and right now he'd probably be my MVP pick or number 2.
Oh wow.
But I think there's a chance he will turn into a pumpkin. To this point, he's been perfect, but whether I think that's going to stick is a completely different story.
Yeah, and look, he turned into a pumpkin at the worst possible time for the Vikings last year in that, game for the 1 seed against Detroit, and obviously that playoff game against the Rams. But he's been excellent for Seattle. And as for the Jags, like, look, you're 4-2, but I don't know, man. Like every time I watch this team, I don't feel like I'm watching a playoff caliber team,
Yeah.
and this was no different. I just feel like they got very lucky. They got very lucky against the Chiefs to win that game. Credit to them, they won. They deserve all the credit in the world, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if this is sustainable. I think Liam Cohen's done a nice job with them, but I mean Trevor Lawrence. I just think he's just been so kind of inconsistent this year. How would you assess Trevor Lawrence's play in 2025 before we move on to the next game? Because I think he's been pretty so-so.
Yeah, I haven't been impressed with him. Like I
Hmm.
think he's been okay. I mean, I think these past couple of games he's been pretty good. Even against the Seahawks, it didn't wasn't pretty, but I thought he played all right. He was clutch against the Chiefs, but the first 4 games I was just was not simply not impressed. And
No.
I think the Jags, I think they're a well coached offense with talented receivers. So like if they have a game where like Lawrence, they're the holy trinity of Lawrence, Thomas, and Hunter can all figure it out. They could move the ball pretty much on anyone. And plus if ETN is running well, I just don't trust Lawrence enough. Travis Hunter's not consistent enough. Brian Thomas has been the definition of inconsistent this year. I don't trust Travis Etienne, and their defense I think is too turnover heavy. So if they face a team that like does not act stupid like the Chiefs did a couple Mondays ago, then I think they're gonna be they're gonna be in a very hairy situation. I think they could beat up on bad teams, but if they could face a good team that doesn't make mistakes, I'm probably not gonna pick Jacksonville. I probably wouldn't favor Jacksonville.
Yeah. So we'll see how the rest of the season progresses. And they have their annual London game in week 7. All right, next game here. Chargers Dolphins, the 2022 Agenda Bowl. If you remember the old Herbert versus Tua debates, those were silly then. They're even sillier now. And that was proven right in this game. The Chargers win 29 to 27 to break a 2-game losing streak. They improved. I can't talk today. I'm having a tough time speaking today. They improved to 4-2 atop the AFC West. Meanwhile, the Dolphins fall to 1-5. It seems like Mike McDaniel's days are continuing to be numbered. Herbert, I thought, was pretty inconsistent in this game, but he made one incredible play late, getting away from a Jalen Phillips sack, finding Lad McConkey, who ran for 42 yards to set up a game-winning field goal by Cameron Dicker. Tua was awful in this game. He threw 3 interceptions. To be fair, he did throw a go-ahead touchdown to Darren Waller, but other than that, he sucked in this game, as he has for most of the year. Yeah, I mean, the Chargers had to win this game because you lose 2 straight. You want to stay atop the AFC West. They did not play well. They blew a 2 touchdown lead or a 2 score lead in the fourth quarter, but Herbert and McConkey had some late game heroics to get them the victory all the way down in South Beach. The Dolphins, not much to say about them. They're horrible. Their season from hell continues. I don't know if it's a season from hell because I expected them to be awful, and they are. And the Chargers got a much needed win, although they did not exactly play great. Again, Herbert, I thought was pretty iffy for most of the game. But credit to him, he made an incredible play to pull out the victory. And yeah, I mean the Chargers, I don't know. Like I wasn't overly impressed with the Chargers, but ultimately they won the game.
Yeah, wasn't impressed. Mike McDaniel has to be sick. I mean, you can make an argument the Dolphins scored a little bit too quickly, but like, and I think the underrated big mistake of the game was Malik Washington going out of bounds. I think he was pushed, to be fair, but like the Dolphins had to have situational awareness. Like in that situation, you do not go out of bounds because there was a minute left on the clock, so they weren't at any risk of the game clock running out on them. But Malik Washington going out of bounds, say allowing the Chargers to not use their final timeout, kind of killed them. Maybe it wouldn't have made that big of a difference, but at that point, the Dolphins have to think we need to like either score or burn clock. Like no incomplete passes, no going out of bounds, no sacks. Like
Mm-hmm.
even if it involves like getting a yard, that's productive because you force the Chargers to use a timeout. But Washington going out of bounds, not really getting a yard on the play. It's not like they gained 6 yards and then went out of bounds. They just gained nothing and burned the clock. So the Chargers were like, okay, cool. You might as well just have taken a knee and saved a timeout. But even though I don't trust the Chargers in clutch moments, I feel like I trusted the Dolphins defense a lot less. So even
Yeah.
though there was like 46 seconds left, the Chargers had one timeout, I was like, as long as they can get into field goal range, I think they're going to make it. I just don't trust Miami. And that's exactly what happened. Big pass to Lad McConkey for 42 yards, pretty much cooked him. Dolphins lasted one play. They made one stop on that play. Couldn't do anything. Oh, I even forgot the best part. They allowed a 40-yard return to Miller Hines. They had a good kickoff, got it exactly to the 1 yard line, but allowed the return to go all the way to the 41. Forced one incompletion, then McConkey basically got into the red zone the next play. So very unclutch play by the Dolphins defense and special teams. Kind of a one you kind of had to win if you're Mike McDaniel, given how close it was. Kind of similar to Jonathan Gannon of the Cardinals. Like no one really expected this game to be close, and so the fact that you lost is kind of a bummer.
Yeah, and look, Mike McDaniel probably doesn't have much time left. I'd be very surprised if he's their coach by like week 9, that primetime game against the Ravens. I don't know. If they lose to Cleveland, I think he's done. I think him and Greer are probably done if they lose that game. And then, of course, in the post game, you have Tua continuing to gawk in his press conferences, squawking about how guys are late to meetings and all that. And, bro, you threw 3 interceptions. You've been awful this year. I don't need to hear anything from Tua.
Yeah, he's kind of weird. Like you said, oh, players aren't coming to meetings or they're late or
Late to
even if
players
they're
only meetings,
online.
which shows how cooked
Which
this team is.
I don't know what Tua was thinking because like, dude, like you're the quarterback, like you have to be the leader. Like how many
Yeah.
successful teams have there been in recent memory? Like maybe in the 80s, its dynamics are different, but like in the modern NFL, the quarterback has to be the alpha, has to be the leader, and he just basically admitted that his teammates don't respect him because like if that was the Chiefs and Mahomes was running a players only meeting,
Yeah.
uh, no one's going to be late, and if they are, they're going to face real issues because the way that he said it didn't really seem like anything was going to happen. The players were going to be late, and they're like, that's what they knew. It's kind of like if you're not going to enforce the rules, we're not scared of you. We're not going to show up on time to a meeting. Like, what's our problem? What's your problem? So, not good. I think the Dolphins are completely cooked. I think I'm ready to bury him. Mike McDaniel. I don't think he's a bad coach. I honestly don't. I think a lot of this more has to do with the roster and the quality of quarterback, but it just might be time for a complete culture change down south.
Yeah, I just think it's time. I think McDaniel, I don't think he's going to be a head coach. While he'll probably be an offensive coordinator somewhere. I mean, Eagles fans want him to come there to be an offensive consultant, as I mentioned earlier. We'll see if that happens. But I don't know. I just think, yeah, this thing's kind of run its course. We've known it all year. They have one win. I mean, and that one win is against the Jets. And they've been in a lot of these games. A lot of these games, with the exception of that week 1 game against the Colts, like they've been competitive in these games. They've just found ways to lose, which is what bad teams do. Bad teams find ways to lose, and that's what the Dolphins have done all year. All right, next game. Going down to the AFC North, the Steelers beat the Browns 23-9 to improve to 4-1. The Browns fall to 1-5. Steelers coming off their bye. The Browns did not score a touchdown in this game. Dylan Gabriel was very, very bad. He threw like checkdowns the entire game. He threw for 250 yards and like 50 something attempts. I think it was 51 attempts. Aaron Rodgers, according to PFF, had by far his best game as a Steeler. He threw 2 touchdowns, one to Connor Hayward. brother of Cam Hayward, and the other to DK Metcalf. He made a couple big time throws to one of them to Metcalf down the sideline. I thought Rodgers was solid in this game. No turnovers again. The Steelers defense had easily their best game of the year, not allowing a touchdown. They sacked Gabriel 6 times. They really got after him in the pass rush. Jalen Ramsey, the corner, had 2 sacks. So the Steelers defense played the way they were hyped to coming into the year, albeit against a putrid Cleveland offense. And not really a ton to say about this game, Lucas. I mean, the Steelers did what they had to do. You're playing a team of that caliber at home. You got to win, and they got it done. They're 4-1. They are on a short week to go to Cincinnati on Thursday to take on Joe Flacco and the Bengals, who we'll get to here later on. But again, I don't have made many major takeaways from this game. I mean, the Steelers had their most complete victory of the season, but I think that says more about the Browns are just like an atrocious football team who should probably be 0-6. I mean, the Packers donated a game to them in week 3. Cleveland, I think, is right there in the conversation for the worst team in football, along with the Jets and the Titans. The Dolphins are up there as well. Like, those are the 4 worst teams in the NFL. Like, defensively, they're solid. I mean, they held Pittsburgh out of the end zone in the first half, but they just couldn't make up for their completely inept offense.
Yeah, it's really tough. I think Dylan Gabriel has some potential, but Aaron Rodgers, I think, played his best game as a Steeler today, or not today, but this week against the
Sunday.
Browns, or Sunday. I don't
Yeah.
know what my problem is, but yeah, Aaron Rodgers played his best game. Dylan Gabriel, I thought, didn't play very well in this game. Like, the Steelers were very generous because PFF charted him with 4 turnover-worthy plays, so I'm not sure if there was one called back due to a penalty or something, but should have thrown 4 picks in this game, threw 0. So this game honestly should have been a lot worse if the Steelers actually could catch interceptions.
Yeah.
So this game
Old
was
friend
also going to
Juan
probably
Thornhill dropped one right in the breadbasket. I watched that on
exactly.
Red. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So not exactly good. The Browns offensive line, or the Steelers offense, I think an encouraging sign is the Steelers offensive line has been quietly not very good this year. And the fact that Rodgers has looked somewhat competent in moments is actually a good sign. Like, if the Steelers can actually figure out pass protection, then I think that could be a very, very good sign. And the Steelers might actually be a team that could win more than 9 regular season games. I still don't think this is a Super Bowl team, but Aaron Rodgers played well against the Browns, but that's coming off a bye. Maybe he'll turn back into a pumpkin.
Yeah, and Rodgers, I think his box score numbers are actually very good. His underlying numbers, not so much.
Yeah.
Again, the Browns are just hopeless. I mean, Stefanski, similar to McDaniel, I don't think Kevin Stefanski's a bad coach, but I just think it's time to change scenery. You don't have a quarterback. I mean, maybe you see Shador Sanders start some games later in the year. But Dylan Gabriel clearly did not show a whole lot in this game, albeit in a tough situation, not scoring a touchdown against Pittsburgh. So they moved to 1-5. Their season is once again over before Halloween. Common theme for the Cleveland Browns. All right, last game for the early window here. Patriots Saints. The Patriots win 25-19. They improved to 4-2. And with the Bills losing last night, they are now in first place in the AFC East for the first time since Tom Brady was the quarterback back in 2019. The Saints continue to play hard, but they keep falling short. They're now 1-5. Spencer Rattler once again played well. He's quietly played well for New Orleans this year, going under the radar because they're not winning any games. Drake May was once again excellent. He threw 3 touchdowns. He threw some absolute dimes down the field. He's really coming into his own in his second year. He's also taking care of the football. A big issue for Drake May last year was the turnovers. He threw 10 interceptions. He had multiple. I think he was one of the league leaders in turnover worthy plays in 2024. He's really cut that out this year. He's only thrown 2 interceptions this season. And he's doing it with a supporting cast that, while improved, is nothing spectacular. Stephon Diggs is really the only legitimate weapon, and he's not what he once was, although he's still very good. He has a good connection with Keyshawn Booty, former LSU receiver. And New England's defense is playing better. Mike Vrabel has been playing better on that side of the ball. Their free agent signings of Milton Williams and Robert Spillane and Carlton Davis seem to be, paying dividends. And look, the Patriots are looking like the makings of a playoff team. They're playing good football. I know the Saints aren't very good, but they went down to the Big Easy and got a win. Their third in a row.
Yeah, Drake May, I think you could maybe say for the second week in a row, played the best game of his career.
Yeah,
He was perfect in this game. I mean, he had a fumble, so I guess he wasn't technically perfect.
yeah.
He had a drop kick, but he had this pass that didn't end up counting to Stephon Diggs that was just a complete dime. but it got called back due to a penalty. I was frustrated because I have Diggs on my fantasy team that I was talking about with Rico Dowdle. So I lost about 6 points on that play. Would have been like a 50-yard catch, and it was just a complete dime. Didn't count due to a Patriots penalty. That won't show up in the box score, so he should have had well over 300 yards. But Drake May has been fantastic. We knew he had a high ceiling. He just kind of needed to clean some things up and have a good offensive infrastructure around him. He's played amazing these past 3 weeks. Like, more particularly these past 2 weeks. Didn't have a passing touchdown against the Bills. He was awesome in that game. The Saints game, box score numbers were good, but I thought he played well, way better than that. Very good sign, and I'm actually impressed with the Patriots offensive line. Quietly
Yeah.
has been a very good unit. I was a skeptic of the Patriots supporting cast, but at least looks like their protection for May is very good. Where Will Campbell has been good, not excellent, but Jared Wilson has been good enough as a center. So I guess that's good. I guess you got to be very happy. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of looking at their underlying numbers, but their offensive line's been good. It seems like they drafted two
Yeah.
studs, left tackle Will Campbell and center Jared Wilson. Looks like they got their Jared Wilson actually is playing left guard. So it looks like, sorry, I don't know why I was talking out of my butt there. But yeah, it looks like they got the left side of their offensive line set for the future. Garrett Bradbury's having a resurgent year. Michael Onwenu, who's quietly been like a very good offensive lineman for the past half decade, he's playing very well. Morgan Moses is playing about as well as you'd expect at right tackle. So overall, this offensive line is playing very well. Stephon Diggs has been little hit or miss. Hunter Henry's been Hunter Henry, like a quality tight end, but not a game changer. Still kind of waiting for Kyle Williams to take the next step, but it seems like the Patriots' depth receivers are coming to play. Like Kayshon Boutte has been very good this year, and Matt Collins hasn't really done anything, but like Demario Douglas has given them some key moments. But if they can get either like Kyle Williams or Travion Henderson going, then this Patriots offense might go to another level.
Yeah, and look, you got to be encouraged if you're a New England fan. After some rough years in 2023 and last season, the arrow is pointing up, and they play a Titans team that just fired their coach, and we'll get to that here very shortly. And as for the Saints, I mean, not much to say. We didn't expect much for them this year. I picked them to go 0-17. They've been competitive, but they're just not, the talent's just not there to win these games. Although I do think they might have something with Spencer Rattler. I think he's played pretty well this year. I don't know if he's a franchise quarterback, but he certainly has some talent. He's playing well enough to keep Tyler Shuck on the bench, at least for the time being. So again, the Saints, it was never about this year. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes for Kellen Moore's group. All right. Speaking of the Titans, we have the Who Cares Bowl. The Who Cares Bowl, excuse me, between the Raiders and the Titans. The Raiders win for the first time since week 1 to improve to 2-4. The Titans fall to 1-5. And Brian Callahan's swan song, Lucas. Yesterday, Brian Callahan was fired from the Tennessee Titans after going 4-19. And Mike McCoy, old friend of the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, because he was the coach of the Chargers for 4 years, he will be the interim coach for the rest of the year. I used to refer to him as bye-week McCoy because it felt like whenever the Chiefs played his Chargers, it was a free win. So we'll see how that works out. I don't have very high hopes. Again, not a game that's not worth spending much time on. Geno Smith was better. He threw another interception, however. Cam Ward once again struggled. Cam Ward has not been good this year, although the situation is not exquisite. We'll see if he plays better without Brian Callahan there. But the biggest storyline is not the Raiders or the Titans. Neither team is really going anywhere this season unless the Raiders maybe get something going and Geno turns it around a little bit. But the big storyline is Brian Callahan being fired. And I think this was a move that probably would have been made if the Cardinals didn't donate a game to them back in week 5. He was just, there's no other way to say it. He was a really, really bad coach. 4-19. His team looked like they weren't really playing for him. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons, their star defensive tackle, said after the game that they felt flat going into. That's a referendum on the head coach. And if you have a first overall pick in Cam Ward, who you want to develop, I feel like tying him to Brian Callahan would hinder his development. Now, I'm not sure Mike McCoy is much of an improvement at all. But I feel like this was the right move for Tennessee and probably should have happened a couple weeks ago, but they got it done. Yeah, I mean, I thought this was kind of overdue in my opinion.
Yeah, Brian Callahan added nothing to this team. I'm sure he's a nice
Mhm.
guy. I'm sure maybe half the reason he was hired was to take his dad, Bill Callahan, to coach the offensive line, but their offensive line has not been very good this year. It hasn't been a complete disaster, but hasn't exactly been a net positive for the team. You would think with Bill Callahan and multiple first round picks, they would be good, but not exactly the case. JC Latham hasn't developed yet. Peter Skoronsky has regressed. It just that team just stinks. They just need more talent.
Yeah.
And I think the bigger problem is it seems like their ownership group is kind of taking turns about who's actually in charge of the football operations. I feel bad for Mike Borgonzi. I'm not sure why he took that job because like it seems like the owner Amy Adams Strunk is kind of changing who she thinks is in charge every single year. Like that's why Mike Vrabel got fired, or John Robinson got fired before Mike Vrabel. Then they hired a new like VP of football operations who fired Mike Vrabel. Then they hired a new GM. That new GM got the old football operations head kicked out. Then the old that GM got fired. Now Mike Borgonzi's in there, but now like Chad Brinker is now running the show. When does she fire Chad Brinker? It just seems like they don't have a it's kind of like an organization that's kind of operating like Game of Thrones. Like
Yeah.
it seems like every week there's a new leader who's really calling the shots. I feel bad for her because I think she just sell the team, but she won't because she wants to enjoy the new stadium probably. But that team just has no leadership up and down. Like this kind of seems like it's a Bengal situation where like ownership is a complete crap show that may luck into a really good quarterback, but I don't think Cam Ward is Joe Burrow, and I don't think they're going to get a good enough head coach to overcome all this nonsense.
Yeah, and it'll be curious to see who their head coach is. That decision will be made this upcoming January. For the time being, it is Mike McCoy. He'll be the coach for the last 11 games. Yeah, and honestly, I think you could argue they should have fired Brian Callahan after last season. They were the worst team in football. I understand like the optics of firing a coach after 1 year isn't spectacular, but they were just so putrid last year. Callahan showed nothing that he's the coach of the future, and you hire a new GM while keeping a lame duck coach. The timelines don't really align. So you keep Mike Morganzi for this year. You allow him to at least be connected to the new head coach, whoever that is, whether it's Joe Brady, whether it's Cliff Kingsbury, who knows. So it'll be very interesting to see if the Titans can really turn their franchise around. And we'll see it like if Cam Ward progresses at all, because while he has shown some flashes, he has not been very good this season. It's still early, so I'm not going to say like he's a bust or anything. But by the end of the year, if you're a Titans fan, you have to see like, okay, maybe this is a guy who can be a star down the road because he's struggled early on. All right, next game, Bucs Niners. The Bucs continue to roll. They get their first win of the season. That's not a win at the last second. They win 30-19. They improved to 5-1. They have the best record in the NFC. They're tied with the Colts for the best record in the NFL. The Niners fall to 4-2, and they lost to more than just the Bucs in this game. They lost Fred Warner, who I think is the best player in their team, one of the best players in the entire NFL for the season. With I believe it was a broken ankle. Was that the injury, Lucas? His leg was in an air cast. So you
Yeah,
knew it was season ending as soon as you
it
saw it.
was an ankle injury. Yeah, it
Yes,
was an
that's
ankle
that's
injury.
what
I'll
I
look it up.
figured. Baker Mayfield was once again excellent. He continues his MVP candidacy in this game, despite the fact that Mike Evans was out, Chris Godwin was out. I believe Emeka Ibuka was out. So you're out there throwing to Tez Johnson, an undrafted rookie out of Oregon. Uh, Mac Jones, I mean, I thought definitely had his worst game as a Niner. This was the first game that you could argue they missed Brock Purdy. He threw 2 interceptions. He did throw for a lot of yards, but a lot of it was kind of garbage. Mac Jones did not play particularly well in this football game, but the Niners, I know they're 4-2, but I'm ready to kind of chalk them up. They just have too many injuries to overcome. While the Bucs, I know like you could argue like they could have lost a lot of these games, but they haven't. I mean, that's the argument people made for the Chiefs last year, and they're 5-1. They're the first in the conference, and they're getting all their receivers back. So good for the Bucs getting a win at home. And for the Niners, I mean, that's just brutal. I mean, I feel like I don't think they can overcome losing Fred Warner for the season.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield. Yeah, I mean that sucks for the Niners. It just I don't know what the heck is going on in that with that organization. It seems like they're always hurt, and it seems like the one healthy year they got a couple years ago, they lost Dre Greenlaw due to a freak injury on the sideline. But Baker, I'll talk about the Bucs. Baker Mayfield has been awesome this year. He'd probably be my MVP vote. I don't think he's played quite as like dominant as people think, but when you factor in like how injured his supporting cast has been
Yeah.
and the fact that they're still winning, like I give him full credit. I mean, he sucked against the Falcons in week 1 and was horrible against the Eagles, save for like maybe one throw. But other than that, like he's been great this year, especially given the circumstance. That Seattle game, he was basically perfect in that game.
Yeah, he was awesome.
And he was good, not great against the Niners passing the ball, but he had that amazing scramble that completely changed the game.
Yeah.
So I think right now he'd be my MVP. I still think he needs to be a little bit more consistent with his accuracy, but other than that, like I'm not really going to nitpick that much. He'd be my MVP. I don't know if he's able to keep this up, but I picked the Bucs to be the number 1 seed in the NFC coming into the season, and right now they're kind of proving me right because I kind of went out on a limb with that prediction, and I just
Yeah.
looked it up. It was a dislocated ankle and a fractured ankle, so it was both.
Mm.
So poor Fred Warner, he's out for the season. So
Yeah, and Fred Warner's the best in football by a wide margin. That's the final straw for the Niners. And honestly, like they should fire their training staff at the end of the year. This is ridiculous. Like George Kittle has missed all but one game. Brock Purdy's only played 2 games. Nick Bosa out for the year. Fred Warner out for the year. Brandon Ayuk, who knows when he's coming back? Like the receivers have been banged up. Like it's ridiculous how many injuries this team has. It's a miracle they're 4-2. They're atop the NFC West. I don't think that's going to last. I just think they have too many to overcome. Ironically enough, Christian McCaffrey's been the one star on their team who's stayed healthy, even though he's been a guy who's struggled with injuries throughout his career. I do think like once Brock Purdy's healthy, he'll be the quarterback. This performance by Mac Jones kind of reaffirmed that. Mac Jones, I do think has by and large played well this season, but he was not good on Sunday against a Buccaneers defense that has not been spectacular this year. He could have easily had like 5 turnovers in that game. So he'll probably go back to the bench, although he did do an admirable job filling in. I don't know when Brock Purdy will be back. I might be seeing Mac Jones on Sunday Night Football against Atlanta. So we'll see. But I mean, just a weird year for the Niners because the record looks good, but like every Niners fan knows, like, yeah, we're too injured to really win anything of significance this season.
yeah, it sucks that they don't have a bye until week 14. So
Oh,
they're gonna
yeah.
have to keep going for another 7 games before they get a day out. They get a week off. But it sounds like Brock Purdy is probably a week or 2 out. If he's not back for Atlanta, I would imagine he's going to play against the Texans the following week. But I still think the Niners can make the playoffs, but I think they need Purdy back because I like Mac Jones. I just don't trust him to hold up. And then maybe look at Ayuk and Kittle back. So they are unhealthy, but like Kittle should be back next week. That's kind of like the buzz is. So he's either going to be back next week or very latest he'll be back against Houston. I imagine Purdy's on the same timeline. They might bring him back in the same game just to like make sure they're on the same level. And then Ayuk, I'm not sure where he is, but I would imagine he'll be back sometime in November.
Yeah, we'll see. So maybe they get a little healthier on offense, but I just think even as good of a coordinator as Robert Saleh is, like when you lose Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, I feel like they're going to give up a lot of points, and they gave up a 30 burger in this game to the Buccaneers without a lot of their weapons. All right, next game, a game that I was in attendance for. Packers Bengals. The Packers get their first win since week 2. They improved to 3-1-1 coming off their bye. The Bengals have their 4th straight loss to fall to 2-4. Their first game with Joe Flacco, 27-18 was the final score of this game. Jordan Love didn't have a great game, although he did make some really nice plays. He made a really spectacular play on a long throw to Matthew Golden that kind of sealed the game for the Packers. Joe Flacco probably had his best game of the year with the Bengals. He had a pretty solid second half. He made some nice throws to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. He had no turnovers. He threw a touchdown to Tanner Hudson in the 3rd quarter. Jamar Chase made some spectacular catches in this one. But ultimately, the Packers, I mean, they got the job done. They got to win at home. They ran the ball well. Josh Jacobs had his best game of the season. Romeo Doubs had a nice game. Matthew Golden, who looks like he's kind of coming into his own in this offense. So a weird game. Like the Packers probably should have dominated more than they did. They were up 10-0 in the first half. They were a little sloppy at times. Jordan Love did throw a bad interception on the first possession, but they won. I mean, Lucas, this was the team that you predicted to represent the NFC in Santa Clara on February 8th. They're currently second in the NFC. They're atop the conference with the Lions' loss on Sunday night. And for the Bengals, look, Flacco definitely played better than Jake Browning was. Um, I still don't think like he's going to do much for them. I think they're probably they maybe. I mean, look, they'll probably they have the Jets coming up in a couple weeks. They'll win that game, but I don't know if he's enough to really overcome this lackluster roster outside of those receivers. At least they showed some fight in the second half that maybe reflects well on Zach Taylor. But look, the Packers took care of business and they got the dub.
Yeah, Joe Flacco played about as well as you possibly could expect him to. It wasn't perfect,
Yeah.
but there were a couple key drops in that game that were really inconvenient, but for the most part, he was very efficient, or he played pretty well. Didn't really push the ball down the field a ton. Like only had an average up the target of under a 5.9, which is basically nothing. But I thought Flacco played well. Again, this is another missed opportunity for Cincinnati. Even though I felt the Packers were the better team all the way, it just kind of feels like, man, you were that close with Joe Flacco. Really could have won it, but I don't really think the Bengals were really that close to reality. Maybe the final
No.
score is a lot friendlier, but like it just feels like, man, that they were more competitive than we thought they would have been going into the game. I thought the Packers were going to win by 25 points, but it just kind of makes it seem like maybe the Bengals aren't dead with Joe Flacco. But I thought they lost by 9 points with Joe Flacco playing like his probably A- game. What happens against the Steelers if he has a C- game? Like, are they going to lose? Or are they going to
Yeah.
get crushed at home? But they do have the Jets coming up in a couple weeks off a mini bye. I don't think the Bengals are going to lose every game without Burrow. Like, I think if they lose that Jets game, I mean, I think Zach Taylor should be fired. Like, I don't
Yeah, I
care about the
agree.
Joe Burrow excuse. Like, even if they beat Pittsburgh, I don't care if they win like 30 to nothing against the Steelers. If they lose to the Jets, they should be done. That's what happened with Brian Callahan. The Titans won their first game of the year. 1 week later, they lost to a bad team and they got fired. So the Titans were at least smart to not hold on to Brian Callahan longer than necessary. Hopefully the Bengals don't do the same, but I'm not a big fan of that team or that city. So I would suggest extending Zach Taylor for 5 more years.
Yeah, I mean Zach Taylor. I mean, he made a baffling, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree, Lucas. He made a baffling decision at the end of this game. So the Bengals are down. They're down 8. The Packers kick a field goal to go up 8. So he need a touchdown and 2-point conversion. It's 4th and 6, and instead of going for it and going for the touchdown, Zach Taylor tries to kick a long field goal with a low probability of making it. McPherson missed it, and that has effectively ended the game. Like I don't understand. Like the Bengals offense played well in the second half of that game. Like go try to score a touchdown. Go try to convert the 2-point conversion, which they already did earlier in the game, instead of kicking a long field goal that doesn't have a lot of probability of going in. And I was there. It was a fairly windy game, a fairly windy day by the end of the game. I don't know what Zach Taylor was doing. I don't think he offers much as a head coach. The Super Bowl was 4 years ago. I just think they need to move on at the end of the season. And again, if they lose to the Jets in Week 8, it's over. It's over. And for the Packers, I still think they're very good. I still think they're a Super Bowl contender. And at this point in the season, it's about winning. It's about winning, and it matters more how you look by Thanksgiving. So a good win for Matt LaFleur and company. All right, Sunday Night Football. Our Chiefs, Lucas, they get a much needed win over the Detroit Lions, 30-17, to improve to 3-3. The Lions fall to 4-2. The Chiefs' offense was once again excellent. Excuse me. Excellent. Patrick Mahomes was very good in this game, very efficient. He scored 4 touchdowns, 3 in the air, 1 on the ground. They ran the ball rather efficiently. Hollywood Brown had his best game as a Chief. He caught 2 touchdowns, one of them on a little tap pass from Mahomes. And the Chiefs' defense, despite a rough start, really shut down what was the best offense in football through the first 5 weeks. They only allowed 17 points to the Lions. It's the first time they scored less than 30 since week 1. Jared Goff, I thought was decent in this game. He wasn't great. He just kind of dinked and dunked most of the game. The Lions did not run the ball that effectively, and they're probably the best rushing team in the league with Gibbs and Montgomery. And I understand the fact that the Lions were really beat up defensively. Like they basically had you and me playing corner. But the Chiefs really kind of moved the ball at will. I mean, other than a turnover on
Yeah.
downs on their second possession, the Chiefs really had anything they wanted offensively. Again, Mahomes, I thought was good. Once again, I thought the receivers were creating separation. Travis Kelce had a nice game. Juju had a nice game. Again, in Hollywood, had his best game in a Chiefs uniform. And the Chiefs defensively really tightened up against a really, really talented offense. Like the Lions had all their guys offensively. You don't have the injury excuse there. And look, the Chiefs, I was pessimistic on them last week after that ridiculous loss to the Jags, which I think will come back to bite them in the ass when we're talking about seeding in December. But they're getting Rashee Rice back this week. And this offense has been cooking for 3 weeks, ever since Xavier Worthy has come back to the lineup. I'm not going to say like, oh, they're the best team in the league, because I've seen some power rankings that have them at 1, like you mentioned. I need to see a little bit more consistency from them. They are 3-3. They are third in their division. But I really like the way this offense has played over the last 3 weeks. And the defense, outside of 2 games, has been excellent this year. They were really good against the Eagles. They were really good against the Ravens. And this was probably the most impressive performance, because this is the most well-rounded offense they've played so far.
Yeah, I think this Chiefs defense is good, not great. I think some people are freaking out because of that opening drive for the Lions, but like, I didn't really care. The Lions are an elite offense. Like,
Yeah.
they're gonna get their drive, so they're gonna get points. That's the reality of things. Like, so I think, because I think people are like, oh, this is the worst defense in the NFL. I made a joke in our group chat, like, oh, this is worse than the 2018 defense, because
Oh my
people were
God.
complaining. No, this defense is good. They locked in. They're not a perfect defense. Like, I still think their defensive line needs a difference maker or Chris Jones to turn back the clock to 2022. But yeah, I think this defense is good. The secondary is awesome. I think the offense still has another gear. They're going to get Rashee Rice back, so that's obvious. And I still think Mahomes is playing B- to B football right now. And
Yeah,
I think
that's a
that's a
hot
very good
take,
thing.
because like his
Yeah.
numbers are, I mean, his passer rating's 99, but like he's thrown 11 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. But I mean, I don't know if you're putting too much stock into PFF. I don't know, because
No,
like
that's
I'm
not
gonna
it.
go
That's
game
not
by
it.
game.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was excellent against the Chargers. I thought he
Yeah.
did all he could against the Eagles. I thought he was pretty mediocre against the Giants. That was probably his worst game. I thought he was
Yeah. I thought he
good
was
against the
bad. Yeah.
Ravens. The Jaguars game, I thought he was good outside of the pick six, which obviously was
Yeah.
very costly. And I thought he played very well on Sunday. He did have a fumble
Yeah.
that he recovered, so that's a turnover worthy play. He did miss a throw down the field, and a lot of it was some dinking and dunking. But I
Yeah.
think it was more of like him taking what the defense gave him.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think he's been bad this year. That's not me. That's not
No,
me saying
Mahomes
like,
has never
oh,
been bad.
he's no, like, except for the Giants. I thought he was pretty bad in that game. But like, other than
Yeah.
that, like, he's been really good.
Well, luckily
What I am
Russell Wilson was
yeah,
on the
what
other side. So I mean,
Yeah, what I'm saying is I think he has another gear to his game that he can reach, that this offense could, like, legitimately might be the best in football with Rashee Rice back. Like, and I just don't, and more specifically, I don't think we've seen enough wow plays this year. Like, I made kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke with you over text. Like, the first
yeah,
throw Josh Allen made against the Falcons was probably better than any individual play Mahomes has made in the last 3 weeks. And part of that was a joke, but like, I think the one thing that's missing from his game is like the big time throws, like the wow plays. I think he's extremely efficient. He's making good decisions. He's on throws that are like within 20 yards of the line of scrimmage. He's accurate, but we're not seeing the like, oh, like pulling a rabbit out of my, especially through the air, pulling a rabbit out of a hat, like type of plays. Like, the deep balls are not quite hitting yet, but I think they will, because the attempts are up this year, relatively speaking. Like, the percentage of deep throws are up significantly from last year, but his
yeah,
accuracy and his overall like efficiency on deep balls is worse than last year. But I think once Worthy gets more healthy, once Rice is back, and the offense kind of has everything they want, those throws are going to open up more. He's going to hit them, and so I think I would consider him the MVP favorite. Right now, he wouldn't be my MVP, but if you're asking me to project 3 months down the road, I think I would probably say Mahomes is going to be considered the MVP in 3 months. And he was my preseason pick. So I'm definitely rooting for him.
yeah. Yeah, we'll see. And he's playing a bad Raiders defense, like outside of Max Crosby, a defense that he should be able to get a lot of stats against, especially with Rashee Rice returning to the lineup. As for the Lions, like I'm not gonna be overly concerned about them. They were missing a lot of guys defensively. Now one thing we should know is that Brian Branch was a complete bitch after the game. Not shaking Mahomes' hand and then punching Juju Smith-Schuster in the nose, and he will be suspended for the Monday Night Football game against the Bucs. And Dan Campbell was very critical of Branch in the post game, saying like it was inexcusable. Brian Branch, despite as good of a player as he has had a history of fines throughout his career for dirty plays, for what have you, taunting penalties. He has been fined 13 times, despite the fact that this is only his third season. So yeah, I mean, this is his first suspension of his career, but I think it's well deserved. I thought that was pretty bush league for a really really talented football player in Brian Branch.
Yeah, he's a great player, and I saw some people were making like lame jokes, like, "Oh, Brian Mahomes was just salty about like the pick six he threw against the Lions 2 years ago." I'm like, to Brian Branch, I'm like, why? The Chiefs won the Super Bowl that year, and it wasn't his fault, so Mahomes doesn't care about that. But yeah, Brian Branch, great player, can be a bit of a hothead, does have some maturity issues. So those aren't, of course, they came back to haunt him in this moment. But kind of like I feel bad for Dan Campbell. I think he's a genuine good guy who is trying to run a good organization, but it just seems like you can't control other grown men that much. So I'm not going to blame Dan Campbell for this. But like, it just seems like, and I understand people are going to be like, oh, well, Juju started it with that block in the back, which I didn't think was a penalty. I think maybe not
Yeah,
an ideal play, but I didn't look at that play saying, oh, like Juju, what did you do? I think I think Brian Branch was just frustrated after a bad loss. Mahomes tried to shake his hand. I don't know if I would have like actually touched his forearm in that situation. I don't think Mahomes had any ill intent, but like maybe if you're sensing like, hey, he's hot, like don't like it's kind of like if you see a cat on the street or a dog and it's not in a good mood, don't try and pet it. That's
yeah,
what Mahomes did. Branch still deserved his suspension. Juju Smith-Schuster does have a tendency to like to poke the gorilla. Like he does
yeah, a
tend to be a
little
little
bit.
bit of an agitator. So I don't 100% disagree with the notion that Juju deserved to get punched in the face. He obviously didn't to that extent. Like maybe he deserved to get shoved, but like I think that's something you can't do when you're a starting safety for a secondary that's massively injured. You just got to take your defeats with grace, maybe talk trash online, but like you can't do stuff that's going to get you suspended when you're down your top five corners.
Yeah, and his safety mate Kirby Joseph did the
Yeah,
talking trash online part. So yeah, the Lions they need to grow up a little bit. I mean, they're a really good
yeah,
team. They're really fun to watch, but I mean, they've had a history of this. Like go win a game. Go win a playoff game. Like they haven't really accomplished anything. So like they haven't accomplished much. They haven't accomplished enough for as much shit talking as they do. All right. Monday night doubleheader. Falcons, Bills. Lucas was 2-0 on these picks. I was 0-2. I went with the favorites. Lucas went with the upset picks, and it bit me in the ass. The Falcons upset the Bills 24-14 at home to improve to 3-2. The Bills, similar to the Eagles, dropped their second straight after a 4-0 start, scoring only 14 points against the Falcons defense. Josh Allen was not good at all in this game. He threw two interceptions. He took some sacks that he shouldn't have. He was scattershot with his accuracy. Michael Penix was okay, but the big story was Bijan Robinson. He was absolutely tearing up the Bills defense. A Bills defense that really is just not good. They only gave up three. They were better in the second half. They only gave up 3 points in that half. But man, the Bills go into a bye, and I think they have it at the perfect time because they are not playing good football as of late. And even games that they have won, they barely beat a really bad Dolphins team at home. They barely beat, I wouldn't say barely beat, but they were in a dogfight with a horrific Saints team at home. Their only dominant win this year was against the Jets, who are probably the worst team in the NFL. So the Bills have some serious soul searching to do. This is a bad loss. I know the Falcons are a solid team, but you should be able to beat the Falcons if you're as good as you think you are. And I thought they were very good. I picked them to win the Super Bowl before the year, and like they're showing they have the same issues, if not worse. Like I still don't believe in McDermott. Like their offense outside of Allen and Cook in the line, I guess, is not great or not even good. The receivers outside of Shakir can't separate at all. Defensively, they stink. Their defense has been awful all season. Outside of the Jets game, they've been putrid. Just a really really bad showing for the Bills. Good win for Raheem Morris and the Falcons, but to me, Lucas, this is more about the Bills, and it shows the flaws of Sean McDermott and the issues that Brandon Beane has had with his roster construction. They're really kind of rearing its ugly head here.
yeah. kind of proving that like the Bills roster isn't that good. And Josh Allen, I thought was great on the first drive last night, and that showed with the touchdown. But after that, like woof, like
Yeah.
he was not very good. Like outside of his first 5 throws, I mean, like that game arguably could have been worse. Like that, like than
They got to play at
24
the
to
end of the
14.
first half. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
exactly. Like
When
Drake London.
Drake London stepped out of bounds, it could have been
Like
an
I think
extremely embarrassing touchdown for the Bills defense. Luckily for them, he
yeah,
stepped out of bounds.
I think, I mean, in hindsight, I know it's easy to say it from my couch and like being out of shape. Like, I think if London, like the clock's out, like you can't risk stepping out of bounds. You just like dive for the pylon like 5 yards and just hope. Because the rule is as long as the ball touches the pylon before anything else touches out of bounds, it's a touchdown. Like, maybe that's a situation like Falcons could have been more aware of. Like, hey, there's like 7 seconds left. Like, if you either got to get out of bounds or down immediately, or if you're going to the end zone, you better get there. Like, this is not a situation where like you got to risk getting tackled at the 1. Like, you got to like go Superman. But I'm splitting hairs because they won by 10 points. But that game should have been worse. I'm thankful for Bijan Robinson. I the third time I referenced my fantasy team, but fun story. When he scored that 81-yard touchdown, I was sitting exactly where I am right now, and I screamed at the top of my lungs, and I rarely do that for
Oh
non-Chiefs
boy,
games.
I wish I was
And
there to see it.
funnier story, that's not the funny part. My mom was interviewing for a very important position, executive position at a company, right upstairs the moment that happened, and I was screaming at the top of my lungs, and I opened the door, I said something in a loud voice, and then I realized, oh crap, I gotta shut my mouth. And so I'm like, did I just cost my mom a very promising, but very premium
Oh
position?
no,
But that just shows like I rarely get animated like that. But shout out to Bijan Robinson. Shout out to the Falcons. I'm still kind of like not sure what to think of Atlanta. Like
yeah, I
I
don't
think it
know.
seems like it seems like it seems like Atlanta's like the classic 2025 NFL team. Like I don't know what to do. I don't know. Like
Yeah,
they could be good. Like they 1 week they're bad and next week they're really good. Like it just it just seems like this team rides with Michael Penix. But I agree, this game was mostly about Buffalo. The roster construction is pretty bad. If Josh Allen isn't Superman, like this offense can't really move the ball. I didn't think they were patient enough with the running game. Like maybe give James Cook the ball more. Like I think there were moments in that game where like maybe if they had an extra possession, maybe if they just were more patient and they were able to extend a possession, it just changes the calculus down the road.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the play calling from Joe Brady was weird at times. And look, Lucas, it begs. And look, there's a lot of season left, and the Bills were 4-2 at this point last year, and they ended up going on a big winning streak. They only lost one meaningful game for the rest of the year before the AFC Championship game. But it begs the question, like, can this team win a Super Bowl with Sean McDermott? And my answer to that is I don't think it can. I just think if Sean McDermott's your coach, you have a floor, and the floor is getting to the playoffs and maybe winning a game depending on your opponent. But I just think they've kind of reached their ceiling with McDermott as their coach. I could be wrong. And if they prove me wrong, all the power to them. And if they win the Super Bowl, great. But I don't know, man. I just don't think McDermott, like, he's a defensive coach and their defense is terrible. And part of that is their defensive talent isn't spectacular, and that falls on Brandon Bean. But I just, McDermott to me, I just don't know what he adds to that team. I just feel like if they lose before the Super Bowl to the Chiefs again or to anybody, I wonder if they make a move and if it's justifiable for them to make a move. What do you think before we move on to this last game?
I mean, right now, like I wouldn't fire Sean McDermott because
No, not
it.
now. Not
Yeah,
now.
I
Yeah.
know. I just want to make that clear. But like, I would have considered firing him last year. But I understand that like barely losing a conference championship game, there's no real shame in that. But
No,
I think if this
especially on
team
the
falls
road.
short, I think if this team falls short of the AFC divisional round or falls short of the AFC championship, you got to fire him. And if they are at home, if they somehow pull the number 1 seed somehow, even though that does not look promising, if they somehow get the conference championship game at home and then they lose that game, even if it's close, then I think you got to fire them. I mean, there's a stat that Nick Wright loves to reference, and I agree with. There have been exactly 0 quarterback head coach combinations that have won their first Super Bowl together in year 6 or later together. So every single quarterback head coach combination that's ever won the Super Bowl, they've done it within 5 years of being together. Like the Chiefs and Andy Reid and Mahomes did it in year 2 or 3 together. Year 2 technically, but year 3 when Mahomes was
Yeah.
in the NFL, and every other combination they did it within 5 years. So that signals like the Bills and the Ravens are in the exact same boat. They either need to change the coach or they need to change the quarterback. And if they change the quarterback, there needs to be some serious conversations in that organization. So Sean McDermott, I think he's a good coach. I think he's a floor raiser. Like I think if he got fired, he would get hired immediately, and I think he would deserve to get hired immediately. I think he's done more than enough to justify getting another job. But I think given the construction of the roster, given the just overall atmosphere of the team, if the Bills fall well short again, it might be time to try and maybe go for a higher ceiling head coach pick.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. They're on their bye, and I think they have it at a good time because they've really been spiraling. It's two teams. Like the Patriots and the Falcons are solid teams, but they're teams that if you're the Bills, you expect to beat. If this is the year that you prove that, like, yes, we're different when the games matter, you shouldn't be losing to New England and Atlanta, and they have in back-to-back weeks. All right, final game, Lucas. A thrilling game on Monday Night Football. The Bears getting a win off their bye. They beat the Washington Commanders on the road 25-24 on a last-second field goal by Jake Moody, the former 49er, to win 25-24. The Bears improved to 3-2. The Commanders all of a sudden fall to 3-3 a year after going to the NFC Championship game. Caleb Williams, I don't think was great in this game, but he made timely plays. He got the win. That's all that's what matters ultimately. Jaden Daniels had an up and down performance. He threw 3 touchdowns. He made some really nice throws, but he also had 2 pretty costly turnovers. He threw a bad interception in the red zone on the first possession of the game, and of course he had the play everyone saw, the botched handoff with Bill with the wet ball. So Daniels, up and down performance for him. The Commanders, I mean, that's a game if you're Washington that you really can't afford to lose. A really tough one because, I mean, you have Dallas this week, but their upcoming schedule, you have the Chiefs, you have the Seahawks, you have the Lions, they have the Broncos a few weeks after that. Like, it's a tough loss for Washington, but at the same time, a big win for Ben Johnson and the Bears, probably the most impressive win of the season. And I don't know, like, I don't know, the Bears are similar to the Falcons, where like I don't really know what to make of them, but after a really bad start to the year, they're winning football games. I think Caleb Williams has been good at times. I think he's been shaky at others. But he did just enough to win this game. And Washington, they got to be scratching their heads, being like, man, we really let one slip away on our home turf to a team that we should probably beat.
Yeah, that's to be fair. This is a game the Bears, like, given the way the game flowed, like that's a game they had to win. Like, I
Yeah.
think as sick as the Commanders are, the Bears won the turnover battle 3-0 in this game. Like that's a game like if you win the turnover, I think it was 3-0, or they may have won it by 3. I'm not sure what the specific stat was, but like, I'm sorry, I'm looking it up now. I'm not trying to be lazy, but just want to be accurate. This is the turnover battle. It was 3-0. I was right the first time.
Yeah.
Didn't even need to
The Bears had no turnovers.
That's a game they should win. I don't care, like, if you're the worst team in the NFL and you're playing the best team. If you win the turnover battle by 3 or more, you should win that game pretty much 95% of the time. And given how, like, the Bears were coming off their bye week, and that was part of the reason why I picked them in this game. Like, the Bears are 2-2, and 2-2 is like a pretty significant fork in the road. Like, they needed to get this win off their bye. Like, that's like a game like you always like chop as short up as a win. Like, hey, you're coming off your bye. You like to think you're well coached. You need to win when you have extended rest. I think they had like 15 days off. They got that win, even though it wasn't pretty. They won back-to-back 25-24 games. So like that's never been done in history. So that's a weird score. But like the Bears, I think this is a sign of how well coached they are. Like,
Yeah.
and to be fair, I was giving Ben Johnson a lot of shit towards the end of last night's game, as you can attest, because I thought he did not handle the end of that game properly. Because, side note, the Bears basically like left themselves with no margin for error late in the game. I think they kicked the field goal with like 5 seconds left and no timeouts. I would not have done that. I would have maybe 5 seconds on the clock, but have one timeout available because the conditions were so wet. Like, if they snap the ball and like they can't get the hold off right, just go down immediately, call the timeout, and you re-kick it. They gave themselves one chance. So they should be glad Jake Moody drilled it. But other than that, like, the Bears, this is kind of the opposite of last year, where they're losing all these stupid close games. They were losing all those stupid close games. And they, to be fair, they did in a week 1. So like they're not
Yeah,
perfect,
yeah.
but the Raiders, they arguably could have lost that game. Like that was a game they kind of got really lucky at the end because they blocked that field goal. And then this game, they got that Jaden Daniels fumble that with, I forgot who the running back was, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt or
Bill.
someone.
Yeah.
Bill Krosky-Merritt. So like this is like they could very easily like within like 2 like very like game changing plays. Instead of 3-2 right now, they could be like 1-4. And like,
Yeah.
man, we're having a lot of serious conversations in Chicago, but they won. That's all that matters. They're 3-2. In terms of the Commanders, I was not very high on them. I picked them to win the NFC East, but that was only because I believe in the NFC East curse, where like they
Yeah.
had no back-to-back division winners in like 20 years. So like logically, I think the Eagles are the better team, but I'm just going to pick the Commanders. Like if you were to ask me just my straight up opinion on them, I was not very high on the Commanders. Like I thought they had a lot of close wins last year. I don't think the team has got much more talented than the previous year. Their defense is old. Dan Quinn, I think, is a decent coach. I'm not exactly like someone I trust to be good in back-to-back years because coaching is like being a player. Like you're not guaranteed to be good every single year. That's not how it works. Like you could have up years, down years. Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't trust Dan Quinn, so I thought there was like a lot of warning signs. Like Washington might be a playoff team; they could make the playoffs again. But like I think a lot of people were expecting like, oh, they might win 13 games. Like I'm
No.
like,
Yeah.
I could see this team going 8-9, 9-8, barely missing the playoffs. But so kind of a bad loss for them. Like even though they were outplayed significantly in that game, they had a chance to win. And if Jane Daniels doesn't mess up that snap, I know it was wet, but like you gotta like that's a moment where you got to be like extra careful. And like they weren't. They were significantly outplayed. Bears had over 1 more yard per play, but sucks for Washington. Good for Chicago. You play to win. That's all. That's all that really matters in the end.
Yeah, and the Bears, look, they had to win because every team in the NFC North has a winning record. Every team has at least 3 wins in that conference. So good for the Bears. And back to the drawing board for Washington. They go to Dallas next week on the late afternoon game. The national late afternoon game. All right. That about wraps it up for our week 6 recap of an eventful week. Some wild games, some surprising results. Lucas, do you have any parting thoughts before our episode tomorrow?
I do not. I think we've got a lot longer than expected. I didn't think we would go this long. Usually I
Yeah.
like to keep it long, but I yapped for a ton of those. Ton of those. So maybe next week we got to be better. But no,
Yeah.
I again this is a weird season. Like I think if you're a Chiefs fan, you got to be very happy because like it doesn't seem like any team in the AFC is separating themselves from the pack. Like the Colts technically by record are technically that team, but like I don't know if I trust the Colts to have their foot on the gas. Like they just scream like a team that's gonna have like a bad 3 weeks and just like lose 3 games in a row they have no business losing. But we'll see. It's gonna be. I think it's a good. I think this might be one of those years. I'm kind of foreshadowing, maybe a little bit too early. Where like we get like a weird seeded Super Bowl, like 2021, where
Yeah.
we had 2 4 seeds go to the Super Bowl, and like we were very close to having like a 4 seed Bengals against the 6 seed 49ers. It just might be one of those years where
Yeah.
we get like a 3 seed against a 5 seed in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Last year it was the 1 against the 2 because the Eagles were
Yeah.
the 2 seed.
Uh,
2023, the Chiefs were the 3 seed, but the Niners were the 1 seed. And then in
yeah.
2022, it was both 1 seeds. So
Yeah.
we'll see. You will see what happens. Maybe we'll see someone separate themselves, down the stretch. But it's been anyone's game at this point. A lot of quality teams thus far, of course, and then of course you have the teams like the Titans and the Jets and the Browns, who condolences to those fans. All right, everybody, we will see you tomorrow. We will preview week 7, some matchups there. But for now, Lucas, thank you for coming on, and we will see you tomorrow night.